Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Now We Know podcast. And after a bit of a hiatus due to, summer conventions and life just being the way that it is, I'm very glad to welcome back for the September edition
That's,
of First Friday.
yeah, it is the September edition because the August edition happened like July 28th or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was like July 33rd or something. So it was, yeah, right
My
after.
favorite day of the year, July 33rd.
Well, to that point though, you guys didn't like get the memo that usually there's like a lull of information and stuff going on immediately after Comic-Con because you guys have been busy with several things, and the timing of today's recording actually coincides nicely with one of those things, which we'll get to. But you've been busy.
We've been busy. We've been busy. And to be fair, just also lots and lots of things have just been landing, you
Yeah.
know. Stuff that we've been working on for a long time has all been landing. So that's
Wow.
good.
Well, I actually have a planned list instead of, just kind of going through
Instead
it
of
free
winging it,
form.
we can't we actually prepared.
We'll call it semi-prepared because that's the best I can do.
All right.
But we were talking about Comic-Con, so I wanted to just drop back to that really quickly for just a moment and talk about something that you guys unveiled at Comic-Con, and it was kind of a big deal. And I mean that quite literally, that it was big because we got to see
Tiamat.
Tiamat.
Come on, look at that.
I know.
Awesome that Tiamat is.
So Tiamat was shown off at the pop-up at the Super7's San Diego store, and went up for pre-order right then. And she's big. She's got, all five heads, articulation, and now we're just waiting for her to be, I would say, the centerpiece of the Dungeons and Dragons display.
Yeah, and pardon me for not being on top of everything. I think this has not closed yet.
I think it just closed,
Did it
actually.
just close
Yeah,
this
pre-order
last
pre-order
weekend? Okay.
closed. Yeah.
It closed this last weekend,
Yeah.
then, I think.
Yeah.
I can never keep the closing dates straight at this point. I just know when it's going live.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
it's like, all right, what am I working on next?
but
But
this is like the first kind of incorporation of a vinyl figure into kind of the Ultimates format, sort of. But she can be used with other things too.
yeah, I mean, it's when we started talking about it, obviously, if you want it to be remotely in scale with the Ultimates figures, it's got to be gigantic. I mean, you can also technically say it would be in scale to a reaction figure.
Yeah.
You know? And just, considering all the licenses that are out there, I don't think it's going to surprise anyone to say that animated D&D is more of a niche
Hmm.
than others, you know. And so how do you just get over the burden of tooling? And we just, we do such a good job on the large scale supersize vinyls
Yeah.
that we sort of came back around to like, well, maybe we can get around some of the hurdles in tooling is if we move this into vinyl instead, and it's still got like 17 or 18 points of articulation.
Yeah.
It's just not like, hey, every toe you can move kind of level of articulation. And it's still, I think, very appropriate for what it is.
Hmm.
And I think it looks amazing. And it's really cool to have a really accurate toy of Tiamat for the first time.
Yeah. And it was fun the way that you guys had it set up because you had some stage of production of the Dungeons and Dragons Series 1 figures there, along with the San Diego exclusive Sheila, Invisible Sheila. And it was cool to see them in that format, because as you said, it goes well with them, and they're able to kind of interact or stand in front of her on the shelf and whatnot, and everything still kind of represents, accurately, or how you kind of picture it, from the show.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those ultimates are shipping like any day now,
Yeah.
So then you'll actually have the ultimates in your hand too. It'll be exciting. I can't wait for you to have Decky on.
Yeah, Decion. I mean, obviously Tiamat stole the show there, but of the four first wave figures, he was the one that I couldn't keep my eyes off of. So the cloak of invisibility Sheila is actually a really fun figure, and I like the white highlights and whatnot on her face to bring out some of those details. But Decion's the guy. He's really cool, and it's going to be a good start to this collection with those figures and Tiamat, and then we'll just have to, get the rest of that cast around her one of these days.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited about it. I think the figure looks amazing. I think it looks just like it walked out of the cartoon, which
Yeah.
is the goal with Ultimates, is to really make it as cartoon accurate as possible. And yeah, I'm just very excited about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one and a new Ultimates line, kind of starting off with a bang. So that's a lot of fun. You guys also had a chance to show off actual in person prototypes of the 2003 TMNT figures, so people could see those live for that first series as well. But you guys also teased another wave of TMNT Ultimates in the 2003 style at I think it was the Ninja Turtles panel, actually,
Yes,
in
yes.
silhouette. So the next wave of Ultimates is going to follow with another 2003 wave.
Next wave will be a second 2003 wave. I think, it's just, yeah, it's that same thing. It's like, okay, we got the turtles, but that's it. Like, you
Mhm.
can't just have some turtles. Like, you need you need somebody to fight, right?
Yeah.
You need some bad guys, you need some good guys, but you need some other people. I don't think anybody looking at those silhouettes is like, I really don't know who that is. It's like, you
Yeah.
know who that is.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
know what it looks like just yet.
Well, and I'm positive those are going to be revealed in due time. But I would expect that because there is another wave that the 2003 figures really, appealed to and found their audience for that first wave as well. That we're able to get a second wave, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that was also a big unknown
Hmm.
to a great degree, is like, are people going to be excited by this? Or are people going to be like, I don't really need that. You just sort of never know. It's all, what generation's turtles are they? And or am I a multi-generational turtle enthusiast?
Wow,
You know,
that's a I think that's a good way to describe myself because I like all those different iterations, but I put that
yeah,
on a business card or something.
yeah. MGTMNTE.
Our acronyms are running amok at this point. But,
Exactly. We'll
um,
get you a t-shirt that just says that.
yeah. One of one. But so like you said, the characters were shown in silhouette, not a big secret about who they are, but I would assume they are going to kind of follow the same formula in terms of build and articulation and whatnot of the turtles in the line. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, they will follow the same look and feel. So, if what you're trying to politely ask me is,
Are
are
there
they
double
going to be
joints?
single jointed or double jointed? Those will be double jointed.
Wow. Well, that's exciting. That is
Was
a
that was that your was that your like candy covering on the pill there?
I have a couple of daughters who don't like taking pills, so I guess there's a little bit of
So that's how we
of
did it.
practice in that in
So I,
disguising
I, I
that.
don't want to come straight out and ask you, so I'll ask you from the side over here.
Well, I think I think that's really great, especially because that is I've always thought that that's a version of TMNT that has a lot of support, and it hasn't really been at all revisited since the time that it was, contemporary.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the Turtles figures and seeing, the second wave of them, which is just really the next wave of Ultimates,
Mhm.
TMNT. But it would not be the internet without the internet divided. So I saw a lot of questions in terms of no shade or anything being thrown at these figures. I think, at least anecdotally, people have been very supportive of them, but people have been asking that we're still going to be including like the vintage styles and some of those things that we've previously seen in Ultimates TMNT throughout the line as it keeps moving. Is that correct?
I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
so. Obviously, next line is this. It's a, it's a constant process. I don't know how we would say it. It's constant partnership,
Hmm.
whatever you want to say, with Viacom and what they want to do within Turtles across all of their licensees at any given moment. So, it's always a bit of like, okay, well, if they're doing this character, then we can't do this character. But if they're doing this, we can't do, it's this constant, I don't know what this is now, right now, but it's
Yeah, it's
magic underwear over here that's
there's
spinning.
a lot of turtle stuff out there.
There's a lot of turtle stuff out there, and just making sure that no one's stepping on anybody else's toes. So, yes, obviously, there's so much stuff that hasn't been done.
Mhm.
We can all talk about, well, what about this? What about this? And what
Right.
about this? What about this? It's like, all right, well, we're all pitching for different versions of things like that at the same time or different times or that. So it becomes a bit of a very complex tapestry to weave of when who gets what. So you know, right now, in that regard, I can't really talk about anything except what's coming up next.
Sure.
So what's coming up next is the next wave of 2003.
Which is awesome, but that does give, good insight as to, so a little bit of the inner workings and how things go on.
Everybody always wants to be like, it's over, it's done.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like nothing's ever over and done until somebody says. It's like even some of your favorite bands. So maybe they take a hiatus for a little while and then they all of a sudden they're back together. But, they didn't really break up. They just, they had shit to do.
There's one of the original members and four other people now, but it's
Well,
the
that's a different thing. That's a different thing. But it's not as simple as just like we get to do anything we want whenever we want, So it's a much larger balancing act.
yeah.
There may be things, I'm not speaking to anything somebody's going to read into it, but like making it up. Like if somebody decided there was going to be let me make up something that's clearly not going to happen, like a Zach Neutrino movie next year.
Okay.
You
Damn
know,
it.
yeah, everything leading up to that, 2 years out, it would be this complex web of how we lead and build and get to that.
Hmm.
And so anytime anything comes in or changes, like everybody's plans have to change accordingly.
Yeah.
So best laid plans of mice and men don't always mean that that's what happens in the end.
Yeah. Well, that's good insight, but still, being able to, celebrate that 2003 version with now two series of Ultimates, that's a really exciting thing. So I know a lot of people are anxious to get those first Turtles in their hands, not only for those versions, but to check out the new articulation and all that too. So
Yeah,
definitely looking forward to that.
I would not disagree with that.
Well, another kind of long-standing line that you guys brought something new out at Comic-Con was new Lion-O and new Mumra from ThunderCats with LED light up features and some new sculpting and all kinds of cool new craziness that it's like they look very, cartoon accurate, but they have a little bit of a wink to the vintage, toys too with some of their light up features.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this obviously at San Diego a bit as well, uh, with how that Lino sculpt is from a very, very long time ago,
Mm.
and how the line has consistently evolved and got closer and closer to the cartoon while still having some of those, toy stylings and
Hmm.
exaggerations in there. It just felt like we had gotten to a point where Lino was further away from what the rest of the line looked like. And so, all right, is it time to refresh Lionel and get him more in line with everything else? And if we're going to do that, where and how do we do it? Obviously, light up eyes within the show. Obviously, it's a toy feature, but in the show is a big deal.
Yeah.
Sort of Omens calls you.
Yeah.
I don't know where you generate the light from inside of you, but
It's cool to do it with paint, but it's really cool to do it with lights.
It's really cool to do it with lights. And so it was also a thing of like, once again, at San Diego, I don't want to make that thing that is inherently essential to collecting the line. It's a nice to have, not a need to have. We felt like that was a good moment to do that. So we updated, heads and torsos for uh, Mumra, and then updated everything, on Lino.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool to see, and I know we talked through about how the LED light was going to work, so that there's really not a loss of articulation and things like that's
No.
going to be going on with those. So
Yeah, it's super cool and super fun. And
yeah,
it's gonna
super
light up
fun,
eyes.
super fun, ThunderCats. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to touch on those because they're awesome, and I can't wait for them. But it kind of segues nicely into
Into
something.
today's convenient
I
announcement.
know that's convenient for today, but you guys kind of softly, announced with some other properties as a new, uh, a new format. Are you guys calling it an overall new format of
It's not
deluxe?
necessarily a new format. It's a new. If you think about it this way, it's almost like uh, it's a new presentation. I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it, but it's the Ultimates. When we started the Ultimates, the whole point of the Ultimate was like, how do we make this everything you could have ever imagined? And we've gone down the well a lot of times with that stuff, which is like, here's a flying saucer from episode 4 that he touches for 2 seconds. And,
Yeah,
it's like, but that's for a very specific kind of collector. And then there's a lot of other people that are like, just like, hey, I just want Lino. That's
yeah,
it. So with Deluxe, which is the Deluxe line, so going backwards is when we talk about the Ultimates, Ultimates are very hard to carry at retail. The
yeah,
price point is high for retail. The packaging is not ideal for retail. There's a bunch of things that make it very difficult for people to be able to just walk into a store and get it. And so really what Deluxe is, it's almost like two brothers. It's like, or same thing. It's like, it's the same figure, but you can get the version that just comes with, like in this case, the sword and the claw shield, and you're
hmm
good to go. Or you can get the version that comes with 3 heads and 8 sets of hands and 14 accessories and comes in this big presentation box. And that's for that version of the collector. It's almost like I'm segmenting this line into which collector are you and where do you buy?
right.
Like that diehard collector guy that wants all the heads and stuff is more prone to buy at, online and order something and have it delivered versus the person that's like, I just want to walk into Target or Walmart and pick it up off the shelf.
Well, as soon as I saw these, because just by sheer coincidence, these were, announced or dropped today during the Target, what are they calling it? The Fall Geek Out,
Yeah.
and made available for pre-order. We'll get to the other property here in just a second, but Lion-O and Monkeyin. And the first thing that I thought was is that this is a path to retail that is going to be, that's accessible, but it's also important because as much as I love this hobby and I love ThunderCats, I mean, it's a niche, area. It's not like people who walk into Target every single day and be like, "Oh, ThunderCats, that's cool. I like that." And here's something that I can find on the shelf, right?
Yeah, it is exactly that. It's how do I make something, how do I make it easy for, I don't want to sound dismissive, but a slightly more casual consumer. Like
hmm
this person's like, oh, if I bumped into Lionel, I'd grab him.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm into it. But am I going to get online and pay above retail for a version that came out 4 years ago and try to get deep on all this stuff that's got a secondary market price? It's going to be very difficult,
hmm
you know. But if you're able to just walk in store and be like, oh, that's cool, I can pull this off the shelf and take it home with me today, like, you know, it works. Or you're looking like, oh, you're holding one.
Yeah, yeah, because I really like the box and the classic presentation of it. It's very clean, shows off the figure well, and it's got that throwback feel to it that people,
Yeah,
remember.
exactly. And it doesn't need to get, the whole point here is, I think I've said this, you've heard me say this before. It's not my job to make it hard for you to collect what I make. I'd like to make it as easy as possible. And a lot of the feedback we got is, it's that same thing. It's like, I want to be able to just walk into the store and look at it with my own eyes and decide if I want to buy it. In that, there's certain constraints that you have to work within
Hmm.
to make that happen. And you have to have a retailer that's willing to take that chance on the shelf,
Right.
for a better description. So we've been working on it for quite a while. And it's the same thing. It's like, I really feel like if you can walk in and buy ThunderCats off the peg, you will.
Right.
If you had the opportunity to do it. So in that regard, same thing. It was like, all right, we've got this brand new tooling for Lion-O. So
Yeah.
let's use the brand new tooling as well. So somebody's got you're not getting, completely
Multi-tab,
left, it's
light up.
a new look and feel. And then you got to have a hero, so you've got to have a villain for him to fight.
Yeah.
Uh, the hardest part here, of course, we have Monkey in for him to fight here. Will we get to Mum-Ra? Of course we will. But right now, the Mum-Ra we have is too big and too expensive to fit even in here. So we're working on some other stuff. Don't worry. We got plans. But yeah, it was like, let's get in there. And so it went live today for pre-order. It actually said pre-order now on there, where earlier it was
Yeah.
sold.
It sold out, and then I think maybe about an hour before we started chatting, it went back live. And I know that was something that people were nervous about, but I just assumed that these are made for being on the shelf too. So it's like I was saying, these
Yeah,
are going to be out there.
if you have to think about it this way. Obviously, we're talking about Target specifically today. Target bought X amount of pieces, and they've got X amount reserved for the store. They've got X amount reserved for online, and generally they have a certain amount reserved for replenishment. So like when your store sells out, we can restock.
Hmm.
So if they sold out of their online allocation, my assumption is that they're going back to their reserve allocation and making those available for people.
Wow.
But it's a good signal too, though, that they sold through their online quantity right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the combination of it being, because I know a lot of people who are very much into collecting, but they like ThunderCats, but they're not diehard ThunderCats fans. So this even appeals to, collectors who like a property, but maybe aren't, someone who needs every single little piece or character from it. So I think it definitely gets traction there as well. To me, it feels like, based off of the success of something like this and how it rolls along, this is really kind of a core cast more type of
It's
delivery.
definitely more of a core cast, and because where we're at with Ultimates at this point is we're deep in the cuts,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're not stopping. But how do I allow new people to get in and collect the line? How do
Hmm.
I allow people to walk into a store and buy it? How do I continue to support this line as a franchise? And Deluxe really is a bit of that strategy where, you know, people love the packaging for Ultimates. People love all the parts and pieces, but the reality is, I think, as you well know, and I well know, I mean, if you're, I don't know how many times a week you end up at a Target or Walmart trying to buy like groceries or, spiral notebooks for kids' school or whatever, you're always checking out the toy section too.
That's the first place we check out, sir.
Yeah. It's, the experience of being able to walk into the store and pick it up off the shelf is not to be diminished.
Yeah.
That is still at the core for so many toy collectors, still the basis of what they want.
Hmm.
That's part of the experience. Getting out of the car going, I wonder what I'm going to find today.
Yeah.
And what's going to be here. And I went to 3 Targets and I didn't find anything, or whatever. And so how do we allow ThunderCats to start having that interaction?
Yeah. And not just Thundercats, but also in the drop were some cool Godzilla Toho items as well. And
Yes.
you might just happen to have some
I
of
do.
those as
So
well.
yes, beforehand I was like, I don't have this, but I do have
We
these.
have this,
Whether or not
yeah.
it's at the warehouse or not. So this is the new. This line is exclusive to Target, by the way.
The Godzilla one,
This is yeah, it's a line called Super Kaiju, and it's
Super Kaiju.
all going to be all sorts of Toho. 34.99 as well. Love, got a lot of foil here.
Yeah,
Boom, pow,
yeah.
and it's sort of two different things. So first off, you've got, once again, we talk about like there's a playability factor that also comes into this. Like if you talk about what we do in Ultimates and Toho, there's a bit of like, once again, I'm talking to elite collectors that are paying 85 and up per figure, and they're gigantic.
Hmm.
The tails are this long, right?
Right.
And everything. And it's like, how do we make this a multi-articulated Godzilla, but also immensely playable? Like we're also talking to how do I make something that kids can play with?
Yeah.
And I'll open up Mecha Godzilla as well. But like, it's like each wave will have pieces and parts so that you can start to develop a diorama that goes with them that's sort of in scale.
Yeah.
So you can start smashing buildings and
Or
everything.
Tokyo.
Yeah, so like these 2 figures came out, and that's like, okay, here's building 1. And then the next 2 figures I have building 2 or landscape. But they're not, I saw somebody already like, they're just bigger reaction figures. And it's like, they're not reaction figures,
Yeah.
It is ball joint and ratcheted for the elbows and the shoulders, and the legs and the ankles and the knees, and we've got bendy wires in the tail. Like
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
it's a pretty elaborate figure,
Yeah.
huge jaw, and uh they're just a super cool line of Godzilla toys that's meant to be that. Like they're
Mhm.
Godzilla toys.
Boys.
It is for adults to collect as well, obviously, but it's also like, hey, that kid that loves Godzilla, these are the ones you want to play with. Like
Yeah.
we really tried to really focus this line around how do we get the most play value, not the most collector value. How do
Hmm.
we get the most play value out of this line of Godzilla? And yeah, so Mecha
Wow. Yeah.
Godzilla,
Nice and
you know,
shiny.
yeah, and it's there's a lot more to go with the articulation and some of the things that we're doing within these figures, these rockers in the ankles and stuff like that. So they've got a lot of articulation and a lot of movement in here.
Hmm. Well,
But
I appreciate you
yeah,
showing that off because that was one of the things that I saw from a lot of people asking questions about, well, what are the Toho ones in terms of, movement and articulation and whatnot.
yeah, and this is really meant to like, okay, if you want to play with Godzilla toys, if you and your kid or just your kid by itself was sitting down and playing with Godzilla toys, this is what you're playing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's really, and so this whole line of Godzilla toys will be exclusive to Target.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's like we'll still continue the reaction figures. We're still going to continue the Ultimates, and this is sort of the bridge in between the two.
Yeah. Well, and here's me making assumptions, but since you have product in your hand and for both of those, the date on Target said like early October. Looks like they're going to be pretty close to that.
Yeah, I mean, all this stuff is already shipped from the factories and everything else. So it is the way Target is doing. They have their Fall Geek Out collector spot moment today, where they're doing throughout the month of September each Friday, it's a different brand or different license
Mm-hmm.
that they're doing. So last week was a lot of DC stuff. This week it's Super 7, and it's
Yeah.
like, here's the new stuff for fall that's coming for you, and you
Yeah.
can, excuse me, and you can pre-order it right now, and then expect to see it on shelf come October.
I
So,
was going to say that because of the geek out, there is the pre-order aspect to it, but this almost feels like this is more here it's announced and the time frame to on shelf is I don't want to say instant because that's not how things work, but it's we're not talking about, the normal 9-month
no,
pre-order.
no, no, no. We're
Yeah.
we're talking about weeks,
Yeah.
weeks.
Wow, that's an exciting piece too. I think for a lot of people because so many things have moved away from that. It's almost refreshing to hear about something and then in a couple of weeks go out and find it.
Yeah, it might like, oh, I might be interested in that Mecha Godzilla. Well, walk on in store and pick up Mecha Godzilla. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely excited about where this I'm not going to say format again is going because I mean you guys have pushed it out there a little bit already with like ODB and Biggie and what MMPR as well. So I would guess that there are probably other licenses and whatnot that might find their way into a format like this.
yeah, and also with some of that, there's definitely some strategic partnerships, for lack of a
Hmm.
better strategic partnerships, for lack of a better description. But
Boy, nerds.
the Triangle Box Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, that is in collaboration with Hasbro Pulse.
Hmm.
So that's where you'll be able to get the triangle boxes and the metallic colors with the morphers. So that's specific for Hasbro Pulse. Deluxe is not specific in all cases.
Yep.
Some characters will, some characters won't, but Deluxe is meant to be, what is that bridge to everyone out there, and how do we start getting those figures out into people's hands that would normally buy or carry Ultimates just because of the price points.
Yeah.
And then Super Kaiju is directly for Target right now.
Right.
So
Well,
um,
I did pre-order today, but and I'm excited to get those in hand, but I'm
those
gonna
are
still
great
be
figures. Come on.
yeah. Yeah, I'm
All
still
right.
excited to be able to go to Target and see them there. So I'll be
Yeah.
looking forward to that. As well because sometimes I'll see stuff on a shelf that's like I can't believe I'm seeing that on the shelf even though I already have it but that I had to order it and whatnot so there
Yeah.
there is something to that for sure so looking forward to that and so that was a really cool drop reveal and we're gonna have them soon and I'm excited.
Yeah, that was definitely, same thing. It's like we've known about it for obviously quite some time, but it was
Yeah.
like, nope,
Yeah,
Target reveals it first, and with that, and we're just like, okay, just biding our
we
time.
gotta wait. Yeah.
You know? And no, I'm really excited about it. I think it's also it's just like I said, making stuff that people can actually get their hands on. That I'm trying not to make it hard, I swear.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like and you've said it before, it's like not every property is something that someone is like in love with or deep into in terms of like their fan base, but it's okay to be, a more casual fan about stuff and there are several things that I think appeal to me in this format because I like them. I don't got to have everything for it, but I think that diversification of options is going to be good for all the stuff that you guys are holding.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Okay.
Well, I know you've got another big pre-order right now, but I can't move off of ThunderCats without asking about Cat's Lair progress and how things are moving along.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I did this the other day, so we'll do it now again here, just so everybody can see it. I had to hobble here. Had some had had to have a little surgery on a broken toe here, so
Ah,
I'm the slow walker now.
well, taking the show on the road. We
That's right.
appreciate your
Taking the show
efforts.
on the road, everybody. But
Da da da. So, is that a final piece? Is
no, this
that
is this. This is unpainted test shot.
Okay,
Needs some
unpainted.
paint on it.
Okay, all right, now I can see it a little better.
But these are like injected,
Yeah.
so that's why they're not painted. But once again, for scale,
Yeah.
here, hold on. You know,
I was gonna say if you're working late nights, you've got a place to sleep back there. Yeah.
exactly. It's gigantic. And yeah, we're
Well,
still, we're debugging, but we're really knee deep into it.
yeah. Yeah. Oh man. I still
So,
can't get over how large
oh,
that is going to be. So
it is so large. It is so large, but it's in a really, really good space. Um, it's really, really cool. It's really, really big,
and
and
production
it's
is
going to be done pretty soon.
oh, that's awesome. So something that I know a lot of people have been asking about with this is when are we going to get to see the box art for this beautiful
Yeah,
thing?
and I keep asking my team the same thing, and they're just sort of like, "We're holding on to it for a minute. Don't worry." Like they have a plan, and
Okay.
I'm not as good at marketing as they are, so question their plans.
Yeah.
Well, they have a plan for it. So
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that, and maybe hopefully if the timing and all works right, I think right now it's projected on your update site that we're still going to have this baby by the end of the year. So
you
yeah,
will.
wow.
Hell or
Uh,
high water, you will. I mean,
a
no,
place for all these stoic individuals to call home soon
exactly.
enough. But all right, well, not I guess probably not moving too far away from Thundercats since everyone kind of has them go hand in hand. You guys last week also opened up pre-orders for some new SilverHawks, and
That was a nice. You hit the note there.
I got it up there. I got it up there a little bit.
Like I have
But
to start lower so it sounds like I've gone up enough.
yeah, I probably should have done that to avoid ridicule, but I'm here for it. But more vac metal and two of the core team members and my personal favorite because of that beautiful metallic teal, Steel Will and Bluegrass are getting the vac metal treatment in this series.
Yeah, obviously, as we have talked ad nauseum, you know, there is a definite knee jerk reaction with SilverHawks to like, give me vac metal, give me vac metal, give me vac metal. Can you do vac metal? By the way, do you know about vac metal? Have you heard of vac metal? Can I tell you about our Lord and Savior vac metal? Um, is that, Art's like, okay, we just did another wave of new characters. Now we're going to come back and do a wave of vac metal. And then next wave, we would be back to new characters again. But,
Yeah.
there was a strong demand for toy centric versions of these characters,
Hmm.
which is where the vac metal comes into play. So once again, and if we're doing vac metal and toy centric on some good guys, we're going to do some toy centric on some bad guys. And so you get Windhammer and Molecular at the same time.
Yeah, and they have some new parts and heads and whatnot, and I've got to say that that color for Windhammer is very very striking to me. I'm a big fan of this version.
Yeah, with the teal with the orange,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
the brown,
Yeah.
it kind of works. I don't know if I'd wear that in color combination in public, but it works.
But
I
when
think
you
a
are when
brown
you're
shirt with that teal ink would look good, right?
yeah, intergalactic gangster who can make weather in the dead of space, you wear what you want.
That's true. I wouldn't tell him so. And I love just the wonderful toy awkwardness of the original Molecular, just that head with the atomic symbol in it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like,
He
that's awesome.
he's a weird dude even by, Silverhawks standards. So yeah, that definitely adds to it. But as a kid, I only had a few Silverhawks figures, but the reason why Bluegrass is my favorite was because of that vintage figure and those colors, and I can't wait to see that teal pop on there. And so I'm definitely looking forward to him. So I'm glad we got we're what, 4/5 of the way now through the core team as far as vac metal goes. So that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward. I know, I saw some people going like, "What? No new sculpts. This is terrible." And it's like, one, we've given you quite a lot of sculpts so far,
Hmm.
and and we have more to come. Don't worry. You know, people are like, you know, I'm not even the moment I say it, people are like, the moment I mention any character, people are like, "Well, is that what's coming next? Is that not what's coming next?" Are you saying yes? Are you saying no? So I'm not
Of
even going to go
course it
down that.
is. Of course it
But
is.
uh, but it's like, yeah, the next wave is going to be back to animation accurate.
Yeah.
We've been back and forth, so it'll probably be, not probably. I can pretty much say it's like, okay, this wave is going to be toy accurate. Next wave will be animation accurate, which means they are new, and the wave after that will probably be the remainder of the toy accurate.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
well, having
I
the
don't think
first.
that should surprise anyone.
No, no, definitely not. But I'll be honest with you. Having the first, couple of figures in their vac metal toy forms and whatnot, I'm pumped to get this team out because it turned out nicely, and these are two cool colors to kind of do in that style on both of these guys. So I'm excited and really looking forward to this, and adding more SilverHawks is always cool. But the super pack, there's a bit of a carryover from the first wave as well, where you get those more toy accurate paint deco heads in the super pack this time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's a fun group. I really like it. And for anybody waiting on new sculpts, don't worry.
don't worry, we're
Just
there's.
wait for the next one. And they're like, but I want to wait. I'm glad that you're excited. Trust me, I'm glad you're excited. You get everything you want in time.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, they are available for pre-order now, which is fantastic. And like we said, the more Silverhawks, the better. Especially, they're to me the vac metal ones are going to look really cool, like flying above the cat's lair once that gets here too. So I'm looking
We
forward.
all the universes
I
will be.
might have plans for that already, so we'll see how that display changes as we get there. Okay, well then one of the final things that I wanted to close out with is something that was another thing that was completely out of left field in terms of expecting it is that you guys announced a Super Cyborg 1989 Batmobile.
That is true.
What?
And I wish I had it here. We had one here. I went looking for it when Veebs was like, "Oh, I want to ask you about the Batmobile." I was like, "Oh," and I ran in the other room and I couldn't find it. That means it's been taken back to somebody's desk or house or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, we've been
How did this
looking at like,
happen?
huh? How did this happen?
How did this come about?
Well, when a boy loves a license plate, no,
When a boy has no parents and a lot of money, he can build cool cars.
exactly. So Bruce Wayne called me, right? And I don't
Yeah.
normally take his calls because he is a chatterbox. Let me tell
Yeah.
you. No, we've been talking about, super cyborgs are a really fun format for us. They do really well. And, it's always robot, 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 but it's not so much robot, robot, robot. It's machine, machine, machine.
Hmm.
And the really interesting part is seeing all the engines, the mechanics, the insides of how these things work. And so we've been talking for a while about like what would that look like if you translated that into a vehicle? And I'm not sure. Do we have a good view of it exploded in here?
I think we do.
There we go. Like,
Yeah.
so in this, like you can take off all the parts and it's like, no, you can see all the brake pads and rocket launchers and turbine engines and everything inside this. Like, so like you can see over those seats back into the engine compartment behind there. It's not as obvious with the fins sticking up,
Yeah.
but you can see all the engines and what makes this vehicle go. And I think that is super cool. That's the fun part for me with this cyborg and with all the cyborgs is being
Mhm.
able to see the insides of how these things function, fully painted and ready to go.
I almost asked you if this is going to function like a car. But what I mean by
It
that is,
does.
do the wheels turn and can it can it
Yes,
go?
it's like not only are the wheels turned, like they're this really dense rubber, like
Hmm.
it's a real functioning vehicle.
It looks like there's
There's room for somebody to drive it.
yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting too.
Yeah, there's totally room for somebody to drive it.
Yeah.
Now, you would have to bring your own figure to that.
Yeah. But well,
I don't make Batman.
I was gonna say, has anyone ever made a Batman figure before? I'm not sure.
Lots of people have made lots of Batman. So, uh, if your Batman fits, great. If your Batman doesn't fit, I cannot promise anything, but they've made every scale of Batman ever. I'm sure that there's a Batman that will fit inside here.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's not the focus. The focus here is on being able to take this lovely machine and
Yeah.
take the panels off and see how the machine works on the inside.
Well, I liked the fact that I kind of, slapped my head at my own kind of limiting of what I thought that, Super Cyborg could be. Because, like you said, robot, robot, robot. But no, machines of all kinds, and the Batmobile is a very cool machine to add to this line.
And it's so funny too, because when you think Batmobile in some ways, it's like somehow like this had a distinct look, but it was like, well, that's not really Batmobile. But even to this day, when you say Batmobile, I don't really think cartoon Batmobile first and foremost. I don't think of like the blue one. What's the thumbs down thing popping up on your screen there? You shook your
Oh, that's
head.
that's a Mac thing. I was shaking my head. No, probably it does that automatically. I don't know how to turn that. I can make it do like fireworks and stuff too, but it doesn't want
Yeah, I haven't been able to make it work. But anyways,
to.
it's still somehow though that this has become one of the most iconic Batmobiles, though more so
Absolutely.
than the blue one. I'd argue more so than the Adam West one or anything before or after that. This is sort of Batmobile 101 these days, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it matches my shirt, and so things look really cool in all black like that. So yeah.
Well, once you take off those panels, it's not all black anymore. Lots of silver and gold and gunmetal and wires and different things. Uh,
Well, this is a very 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 cool thing because it's not like something that that people have gotten. I mean, I will admit that I don't know every single Batmobile that's ever been released, but being able to remove panels to kind of see the full on guts, for lack of a better word, in there is something that I think is new for many a Batman collector. So that's a cool new thing in a property that's certainly had its fair share of merchandise.
yeah, definitely. I'm super excited about it, and it really sort of opens the door to some really new, exciting things that we're working on.
Yeah, my brain got a little bit twisted up thinking about, wow, what other things could now, make its way on here. It's like, well, now, idiot, you're just thinking about cars. You gotta think about, other stuff too. So yeah, fun stuff. And it looks like that's going to be available from your retail partners, correct?
Uh, it's going to be a bit of
It's linked.
everywhere
It,
Right now, it's only available at Amazon for
okay,
now,
okay,
but it will be wider later in the year.
okay.
So right now, Amazon is, it's a first to
First to
market.
Amazon, yes.
Yep, first to Amazon. I'm sure you hear it with other toy brands or different things, but Amazon is where you can go today and get it. And then a little later on, you'll be able to go elsewhere and get it.
Well, exciting stuff, and all what
That's
except
a
for
lot
this.
of it. That you are correct. That is
Ah,
in San Diego.
yeah, we started off with a little bit of San Diego, but man, a lot of, and that doesn't even speak to, the stuff that's shipping and coming out right now because I got just the other day.
Sherlock Hemlock.
I got, Mr. Hooper, made me go like this, but Sherlock is one of my favorite Sesame Street characters. So I absolutely adore this reaction line. So it's so much fun. And I wasn't expecting to see this next wave. It seemed like you guys just announced it and there it was. And so here we go. So I'm glad to have it and I'm ready for the next one.
Well, and it was really cool because when we started talking about it in the very beginning,
Hmm.
wave one, you know, you're like, why isn't Big Bird in like wave one? I was like, well, I really want, can we get Big Bird and Mr. Hooper? and we're talking with the Sesame Street people, and they're like, well, you have to license from him, but he's never done anything. So we're not sure. So I was like, put Big Bird on ice.
Yeah.
Let's try to get Mr. Hooper.
Put
And then
Big Bird on ice.
and then we went to Will Lee's estate and they were overjoyed.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't that they didn't license, it's just that no one had really come to them for the opportunity before. And so we're like, we really want to make Mr. Hooper because you got to make Big Bird and Mr. Hooper together. Like that for me growing up on it, that was the interaction. Like
Yeah.
I feel myself missing just talking about
Well,
when
I was
Mr.
gonna
Hooper
say
died.
I don't
And
want to be too precious about it, but that left a lasting impact on
oh,
me to this day for a character that was funny and that I loved, and I was very, very little. And then, that episode, I mean, I remember my mom crying her eyes out.
I remember crying.
Yeah.
I'm welling up now thinking about the emotions I went through when that happened. And so I really wanted to see if we could if we're going to bring out Big Bird, that we bring out Big Bird with Mr. Hooper.
Mr.
Or
Looper.
say Mr. Looper, you know. And it was also really great to have his estate be so excited because if you think about it, not dismissively, not intentionally, not negatively, it's, you hear about, even if you don't even hear about Big Bird as much or Ernie and Bert, you hear about Elmo and Abby. And, because that is where it is as of today. And it's like to have him included was a really big deal for them.
Yeah.
Because it meant a lot to them and it meant a lot to their father.
Yeah.
And so I was just, I'm so, it's like same thing. People are like, where the fuck is Big Bird? Like you're making Guy Smiley and you're making Lucky, but you don't have Big Bird. Like, what's wrong with you? Kind of thing. It's like, I got a plan. Just wait for it.
Yeah.
And it took a little while to work it out. And I'm just that's it. So yeah, this line's been really exciting for me. And really fun. And the response, as you pointed out, just for you, like the response has been much better than we ever thought it would be. And so that's exciting because it just means we get to go further and do more.
I was going to say it's the perfect format to keep up with those core characters, especially from a certain era, but also get those crazy. I mean, Sherlock Hemlock and the Yip Yip Martians. It's the perfect format for that. So it's just it's a line that I have a lot of fun with. So I'm glad that it's out there, and I can talk about all the other stuff all day long. But
It's also a different.
joyful to open that stuff.
It's also a different kind of conversation. It's a different emotional conversation than when we sit here talking about, and we're all in it. Like we'll be literally talking about Cat's Lair and talking about like, well, how does this trap door work and what's going on over here, versus like with Sesame Street, it's only like, how does this make you feel?
Yeah,
More, nothing less. It's just like,
that's a good way to.
Like you're not sitting here going, well, Sherlock Hemlock's coat should be 1/8 of an inch longer, as accurate to his knees. You're just like, oh my God, it's Sherlock Hemlock.
Yeah, 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 and he goes with Ernie. He goes with Ernie by that brick wall quite well for me. So yeah, yeah. Well, that I think talking about stuff that brings you emotional joy in action figure form is a good way to wrap it up for this month. But we ran the gamut in terms of stuff because you guys are working on a lot of crazy and diverse stuff. So
we're trying to have some fun with it here. That is for sure. And coming out of San Diego, it was really exciting. And eh, September, October is when everybody starts restocking the shelves, and that's sort of the next big push for toy industry is like all the new cool shit starts happening in September and October. So
And
look
it's
for
also the most wonderful time of the year
yes, it's
with
true.
autumn and spookiness on the horizon. So you guys
It's
are always
amazing how much
celebratory of that.
spookiness has like pulled into like they're like, how quickly can we get back to school off the floor?
That's what I'm saying.
I remember when it was like, oh man, they're doing Halloween in September. This is crazy.
Well,
And now it's like, yo, August 15th, this stuff needs to be up.
I was gonna say I bought I'm calling it an action figure. We had to get it so early. We got it last weekend because they sell out so quickly. But I got one of those damn 12-foot skeletons for my yard to put some. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. He's still in the box, but I had to have one this year. So
Wow.
largest action figure I've ever purchased. So that's a good one.
That is,
We're ready to do it
aren't
big.
those things like $400?
Like yeah, about 300, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, all
400.
right.
Yeah, he's got LED eyes and
You have to remember that where I live in
yeah,
San Francisco, people don't have yards.
yeah,
So the phenomenon of the 12-foot skeleton is only something I have read about
yeah. Well, I'll as
because
soon
they don't
as
exist here.
well, we're trying to decide how we're gonna do it, like peeking in the window or something like that. As soon as I get it up, I'm gonna obviously take a picture of it and put it out there. So no, yeah, because my brother lives in Brooklyn, so he cannot partake of such things either. So he's gonna live
Yeah.
vicariously through ours.
So that's where he's like, come on down, spend the weekend building a diorama with me.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
going to be ripping the side of the house apart or something.
I'm just glad I have little ones who enjoy the same crazy crap like that I do because they're really into it. So I'm looking forward to
That's
it.
really cool. That's really cool. See, but that sounds like that once again, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's enjoying this stuff. It's having a good time. I mean, all of that. It's like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
And that's what we like to make it in our conversations for this. So, Brian, as always, thanks for joining us on a first Friday. I can't imagine what we're gonna have, between now and October. I'm sure
It's
just as
probably going to be
much
a
to
little
talk
less
about.
hectic. I'm going to go
Ah,
with a little less hectic.
well,
Yeah.
we'll just see. I'm gonna see how that turns out with what you say and what's actually gonna happen between now and then. But we'll see in October. But everybody, as always, thanks for tuning in. Certainly appreciate it. And probably before the next time we talk, you're gonna be able to walk into Target and pick up a Lion-O figure, pick
Yeah.
up some
Well, think
Kaiju
about it.
things.
Think about that. Just, I mean, as for as many years as we've been making ThunderCats, like you could walk in and buy that version off the shelf. That's rad.
That's exciting. That's exciting stuff, and all now made possible through the new deluxe.
There you
So,
go. What
all
a what a way to what a way to wrap it up.
right,
Yeah,
all right,
man's a
everybody.
pro right there.
Yeah, right. Well, until next time, then we'll catch you later.
All right, see you.
Bye.